What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got to talk about The Last of Us Remake. Now, that was obviously part of the massive Bloomberg article from our good old friend Jason Schreier, who unveiled a lot of stuff going on at PlayStation. So here's the deal. There's too much to talk about for one video, okay? We have The Last of Us Remake. We have Days Gone 2, and it's very much uncertainty. We also have a new Uncharted game. That was all mentioned, as well as other stuff. And I guess the bigger picture of Sony having a pretty tough time just in general, and their handling of studios doesn't seem to be all that great. I want to break it down into potentially 3, if not 4 parts. Today, The Last of Us Remake. Tomorrow, we'll talk about Days Gone and Days Gone 2. And then Sunday, we'll talk about the Uncharted game. And if you guys like this, if they get support, maybe Monday or Tuesday, I can talk about maybe my opinion on how Sony has been handling their, basically their studios. Okay, so if you guys want to see that stuff, make sure you guys are supporting these videos. Let me know, obviously, in the comments. You could say, yeah, that'd be pretty cool to see. But let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys have the bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow my second channel or subscribe to my second channel, it's called Podcast Now Plus. There's a couple pretty big stories I want to talk about over on that channel as well. So, look, I know I'm taking a negative viewpoint to this remake, but talking about the news, well, what's the news? Well, basically, The Last of Us Part 1, or The Last of Us 1 remake is happening. It was originally going to be handled by a group of like 30 or so people, or at least that's what the team started as. They wanted more people. In fact, they needed more people to pull it off. It was proving to be more costly than any other remake Sony had done, and Sony was like, why is it so expensive if it's a game that's only 8 years old? And they said, well, we just, to make it go with the PS5, to make it, upgrade all that way, we need more help, and we need this, and this game is going to be pretty expensive. So Sony ended up putting that project mainly onto Naughty Dog. And that's, again, a thing we'll talk about in that overall Sony video. I don't love the overemphasis seemingly on basically 3 or 4 studios. It seems like they put a lot on Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, Insomniac stuff, Guerrilla Games. Basically, that's the 4. Okay, those are the big 4. And I'm sure they have a middle tier as well. But it's a little upsetting that they feel like they're the only ones that can do anything, that they wanted them to help with it. And that was the also behind-the-scenes story, that Sony was like, okay, well, we're not going to hire people, but we're going to put people from Naughty Dog onto the project, and they can help you. But then the team that was working on The Last of Us Remake was like, well, some of them helped make The Last of Us, so now we don't really feel like we're doing it, like we don't have a say in the game and its decisions. And a lot of that team, the 30-person team, including its leader, all left. And not everybody, but most people in that team or in that studio has left the company since then. Now, again, the game is still going on. The game is happening under Naughty Dog's name, under Naughty Dog's budget, and I don't think it's necessary whatsoever. Now, I'm not saying I don't like The Last of Us. I adore the first Last of Us game is actually insanely difficult to put into words how special the game is. I remember when the game was coming out, and I was in school. I don't remember which grade I was, maybe 11th or 12th grade, and I remember reviews came out when I was in class. I think it was an English class, and I looked, and it was just getting 10s and 10s and 10s. And one of the people that I respect, and I still do respect kind of the most in the gaming industry, is Colin Moriarty. He kind of says it how he is. He's not he's not like a lot of these wackos that work at Kotaku or work at IGN, which is where he used to work. He gave the game a 10. I'm like, oh dear Jesus, it takes a lot for Colin to give a game a 10, right? If you've listened to him on Podcast Beyond, all that stuff. So I was like, okay, this game is legit. And then I played the game, and it was like, oh yeah, all the game's legit. So I don't have a problem with the game. I think it's one of the best games truly ever created. But here's the deal, because I know some people, I tweeted out, and I know immediately some people just didn't agree with me. They said they wanted to see it. So let me ask those people, okay? And I'm not like, we know each other, right? We're a tight-knit community. I'm not like picking on anybody. But would you want The Last of Us Remake, or would you want something original and new? And maybe that comes off kind of mean, but truly that's how I look at it. Well, actually, I look at it a couple ways. Number one, a game from 8 years ago doesn't need a remake. There's very few games I would look at from 2013 and say, yeah, you know what? Those games, really, 2014, 2015. I mean, this game came out 3 years before Uncharted 4. 3 years before Uncharted 4. So does Uncharted 4 need a remake? It came out 2 years before Infamous Second Son. It came out 1 year before Killzone Shadowfall. Do these games need remakes? Now, I get it. It's a PS3 game. Does Beyond Two Souls, which came out the same year, does that need a remake? Now, an interesting, again, thing that they unveiled in this article is that they originally wanted to do Uncharted. So that rumor that Uncharted 1, they were thinking about it and they wanted to do it, but it didn't seem like it was actually happening. That was true. That was a true thing, at least if you believe Jason Schreier. If you don't believe Jason Schreier, then a lot of this you would probably just disbelieve in the first place. But the rumor is, or what he said is that they wanted to do Uncharted 1 first, but it would be quite big because they'd have to not only up everything, but they would have to do a lot of increase. They have to increase the level design. They'd actually change the game quite a bit, which is exciting because remember, I actually said that. I said if you did a 1-to-1 remake of Uncharted, if you just remade the first game, it would kind of be boring. Like the first Uncharted is still good. I still like it. I like the story, but it's easily the least creative of them. You know what I mean? There's like the least stakes. There's the least high, like big action, events that are happening. So like if you were to remake it, maybe you have to add some of those. You know what I mean? So I that's what I said back then. I said that a few months ago, and it turns out that they knew that. They were like, okay, we're gonna have to add some stuff to the game. So that's what they were originally gonna do, and then instead they were going to do this, and the idea that they wanted and Sony kind of promised them, but not really, was that they make The Last of Us first, and then after they're established as a team, they can staff up, then they can do remakes of other games. So they could have Bluepoint working on remakes, and they could have them working on remakes, which is a good strategy. It's actually a good strategy. It did not work. Maybe they can make a portion of Naughty Dog be a remake studio. I mean, that would also, I guess, be equally as fine. But, I mean, obviously, again, you're trying to do new things with new studios, and you're not letting them happen, which is a bigger problem that this article kind of showed us with Sony. Again, we'll talk about that in a different video. But to me, I would prefer an Uncharted remake. I would prefer an older game. Keep going back. Give me a Sly Cooper, for the love of freaking Jesus Christ. Give me a Sly, and I know I got excited there. Give me a Sly Cooper remake. I mean, if you guys have watched the channel for a long time, you'll know how big of a fan I am of Sly Cooper. So that's where I stand. It's like, it's not the fact that it's The Last of Us that's being remade in the way that I think people may take how I'm saying this. It's literally like, okay, you chose a game that's only 8 years old. I just played it. I think a lot of people just replayed it. They probably replayed the remastered version on the PS4. They just replayed it last year to get ready for Last of Us Part 2. I don't know about you. I did that. I did it. I replayed it. I replayed that. I replayed Left Behind. I loved it. It still holds up. The gameplay still holds up. The visuals, yeah, it's from a different era. The faces don't have as much of the expression. So I guess, like, if you were going to do that, but it's like, is that really necessary? No, not really. I think it still completely holds up, even though it's only 8, and it's only 8 years old. It's really not all that old, all things considered, truly. So I don't like that whatsoever. I think that their time would be better spent if they wanted to do something, work on games that actually need remakes, connecting the dots. When they talked about Uncharted, I said, like, Uncharted 1 is the only one that needs a remake. And Uncharted 1 was 2007. Uncharted 2 was 2009. And Uncharted 3 was 2011. I don't think there's any reason to remake, at least right now, maybe in like 5-10 years, but to remake right now Uncharted 2 or 3 never made sense to me. I would never have backed that. I would only have wanted one to be remade. And so a game that's younger than both of those, Uncharted 2 and 3 with The Last of Us, that's the game that gets remade. So that's a joke. And also, if you're against remakes in general, like, just basically doing the same thing over and over, which I could understand that line of thinking. I'm okay with remakes. I love remakes. I think they do, most remakes that come out are done really, really well. They could have just done something completely different. So that's the bigger picture. I don't think The Last of Us is a good choice for this. If you're going to do it, go back and pick. You're not going to pick bigger games, but you're going to pick games that more deserve or need a remake. Again, like, imagine a Sly Cooper. Those games are old. Sly 1, 2, 3, even Sly Thieves in Time, which, by the way, is older than The Last of Us. You could do those 4 games. I mean, what's stopping you? And the reason why the team was so small that was making it is because Sony doesn't want to spend money on these things, it seems like. Sony's a little tight for whatever reason with their dollars on their own studios, which, again, doesn't make too much sense. But Like, so then don't pick such a big game then. And, like, yeah, I'm sure they're doing it because of the TV show. They probably want the game to come out next year, right around the time that the TV show does, or, you know, maybe like half a year before the TV show does. But, like, we all remember the game. I still have it. I can still play it whenever I want. It's just, I don't know. And with the bad taste that Part 2 left in some people's mouths, I don't know how many people will revisit. You know, that's like, I don't think that doesn't apply to me, but I want to acknowledge that because I do think that's important. I do think that's fair to say that, like, if you played 2 and you hated it, I feel like 1 could be tainted a little bit, much like going like in a movie direction, like a Star Wars. Like, if you watched 8 and you hated it, maybe that hurt 7, and maybe you don't watch 7 anymore. You know what I mean? That's a real thing that happens. So I don't think it happened to everybody. I don't think it happened to the majority of people, but it definitely happened to people. So there's that you have to think about as well. I just don't think it's a good idea whatsoever. I think they could have picked better options, games that are older, games that are more deserving of it, not a game that's only 8 years old, already has a remaster, and still works, runs, still feels fine. It's modern enough. You know, again, the games that aren't modern enough are games like Uncharted, which, yeah, they have like the fundamentals there, but not nearly compared to the other ones. Sly, you can pick Resistance. Oh, heaven forbid you go back to Resistance, right? All of these games, you could go back to them, right? So we'll have to see what happens. Not really we'll have to see. It's more like this is going to happen. It's just, are people going to accept it or not? Let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think this is a bad idea? Do you think they could have picked something else? Do you maybe disagree with me? That's totally cool as well. Let me know in the comments below. Like I said, tomorrow we will talk about the Days Gone portion of the article. Sunday we will talk about the Uncharted portion, and we'll see how it goes. I can talk about the overall studio usage if you guys like these videos, and we'll go from there, okay? Thank you for watching. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon, all that stuff. My second channel, Podcast Now Plus, links in the description below. I hope to see you all on the next video.